Two Chairs No Waiting, episode number 369. Why a Black Woman is Fascinated with Mayberry and Andy Griffith. Two Chairs No Waiting is brought to you each week by the fine folks over at WeaversDepartmentStore.com. Drop by over at Weavers and check out some of the new things they got there. One of the brand new things is a Mayberry Deputy Badge. That's right, a Mayberry Deputy Badge could be yours. These are the little kind that stick on your shirt. Well, I guess all deputy badges are. Go check it out. They also just got back in the Andy Griffith Show logo caps and 5 Security. So head over there and get ready for summer for a cap at WeaversDepartmentStore.com. Two Chairs No Waiting is also brought to you by donations from listeners just like you. Executive producer of tonight's episode is Sarah Blaine. Yay, let's give Sarah a hand. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you for supporting the show. Thank you all the patrons, and thank you for being here. It wouldn't be a podcast without you. If you weren't here with us on the show, you know, what would I be doing except just talking to myself, which I sadly do at times in the car, especially, but not in the house normally, because there's usually, you know, people telling me to be quiet here. So anyway, it's great to have you with me. I'm Alan Newsom, your host for Two Chairs No Waiting, and we love the Andy Griffith Show here, and it is so great. As you heard the title, this is the title of the podcast tonight. Why a Black Woman is Fascinated with Mayberry and Andy Griffith. Okay, you know, I'm not a black woman, and I don't pretend to be, but this is a topic we haven't really talked about before. Now, the closest we came to it was probably 5 years ago. Yeah, 5 years ago. Let that sink in for just a minute, as how long we've been doing this podcast, and you've been listening, or hopefully you've been listening. 5 years ago, episode number 119 is actually a little more than 5 years ago. And it was called African Americans in Mayberry. The podcast is still out there. If you want to go check it out, you go to twocairsnowaiting.com. It's episode number 119. And we talked about the fact that there were actually African Americans in the Andy Griffith Show. Now, this is a different topic, I do believe, because this is asking, why a black woman is fascinated with Mayberry and the Andy Griffith Show. Now, these thoughts that you're going to be hearing in just a few minutes are from a lady named Kathleen McElroy, and she happens to be the black lady who is fascinated with Mayberry and the Andy Griffith Show, and she wrote an article that appeared back in December, the 13th of December, 2015 in the Stillwater News Press. And I contacted them and got a permission. And so I want to thank them for granting me permission to be able to use this story, because I really believe that this is something that you're going to enjoy. And it's really something that, I think it's worth reading and worth being a part of. So let's go and check out this story. Let me get a little background music. I should have gotten that ready before the show started. Just a little background to make me sound better, actually. So let's use, I always like to do Mockingbird, so let's use it from the VW Boys, ladies and gentlemen. A little bit of background music. There we go. So let's go and hear from Kathleen about why a black woman is fascinated with Mayberry and Andy Griffith. All right. As it turns out, comparing Stillwater to Mount Pilot was not column suicide. So she had written an article about comparing Stillwater to Mount Pilot, North Carolina. It was not column suicide. And further proof of our local good nature, many readers were amused when I recently mentioned Mount Pilot and Mayberry, fictional locales in the Andy Griffith Show. It's because so many of us baby boomers love the Andy Griffith Show and Mayberry, based on Griffith's hometown of Mount Airy, North Carolina. Academics are fascinated by the situation comedy's popularity and morality. I check both boxes. I'm a Tags fan who's also written scholarly research about the program. More on that later. The Andy Griffith Show ran on CBS from 1960 to 1968, going off the air while still number one. Mayberry is as much a character as Sheriff Andy Taylor and his son Opie, his Aunt Bee, and Deputy Barney Fife. Unlike other sitcoms of the era, the show was often filmed outside and out of sequence. Because it didn't have a live studio audience, its writers could simmer the humor gently. They purposely avoided contemporary references while channeling Depression-era vibes. The playfulness and gentle demeanor of Andy Griffith, the sheriff without a gun, complemented the over-the-top incompetence of Barney, Don Knotts, the deputy usually banned from loading his one bullet into his sidearm. Fife is a metaphor for many things. Steve Daniels, host of the Morning Scramble radio show, recently talked about his father being in the Navy after World War II. His dad called himself Barney Fife because he was often on guard duty with a gun with no bullets. Sadly, I thought of Barney Fife this past spring after the Tulsa volunteer deputy confused his gun with a taser and killed an unarmed suspect. The best episodes are in black and white, the first 5 seasons. Then Knotts left the show permanently, cast just right before the 1965 season. He left the cast. Despite no Jack Nicholson sightings, or 2 Jack Nicholson sightings, skip the color episodes. Andy is grumpy and there's too much goober. And then when Barney makes a guest appearance, we see him bullied by the world outside Mayberry city limits. I'm often asked about knowing so much about the Andy Griffith Show. Implied but left unsaid is why does a black woman who's never been hunting, fishing, or camping care about this program? It's a fair question with no profound answer. I started watching TBS reruns during the 80s and was struck by the quality of the acting and writing, which made the show more authentic than Green Acres or Beverly Hillbillies. Authentic to a point. The Mayberry of the Andy Griffith Show had no black residents. You can spot a black extra here and there. My favorite is a woman clapping enthusiastically as Freddie Fleet's musicians masquerade as Mayberry's tone-deaf marching band in 1962. Griffith, one of the show's producers, regretted he couldn't incorporate a black character. Only one episode had an African American with a speaking role. Rockney Tarkington portrayed a piano-playing football coach in the 7th of its 8 seasons. But American culture has always been good at compartmentalizing. On March 7th, 1965, TV networks interrupted their programming to show live spots of Sheriff Jim Clark beating civil rights protesters in Selma, Alabama. The next evening, TV viewers watched the fictional Sheriff Andy Taylor gently deal with an attractive house guest. Leonard Pitts Jr., whose column regularly appears in this space every Tuesday, wrote about Mayberry after Griffith died in 2012 and called him himself a proud resident. So did other black columnists, who each noted that Mayberry was impossibly white, but Andy Taylor was morally satisfying because he insisted on justice and dignity for the have-nots. After reading columns and reader comments in which African Americans praised and imagined themselves in all-white Mayberry, I saw an opportunity to pair my affection for the show with my interest in race, media, and identity. The result was a scholarly labor of love published in the journal Memory Studies. I wrote that the show, quote, is a beloved construction of Southern history, memory, and identity that spurs nostalgic notions of community, even from African Americans shut out of its original narrative. It's a fancy way of saying it's easier to fantasize about being in Mayberry than actually watching Mammy and Gone with the Wind. But mainly, it's a darn good show. 2 of my favorite episodes feature Aunt Bee, played by Frances Bavier. Sweet but feisty in character, prickly off camera. The Pickle Story from 1961, which was also Knott's favorite, and The Bed Jacket from 62 each address the virtue and consequences of lying to protect the ones you love. By the way, don't watch the debut episode of The Andy Griffith Show as an accurate origin story. Bee is inept at running the household, and Andy calls Barney his cousin. Subsequent episodes pretend such plot points never even happened. In Neil Brower's Mayberry 101, behind the scenes of a TV classic from 1998, one writer is quoted as saying, quote, "It was not a contemporary show, so time was malleable. Furthermore, when a character became a series regular, they seemed to be granted an endless past, which fed to the show's enduring charm." Among the many Tags books, I recommend Brower's because it details how classic episodes were written and produced, and the definitive Andy Griffith Show reference from 2004 by Dale Robertson and David Fernandez, Andy and Don by Daniel Delvise, Knott's brother-in-law, was just published in November. It's about a lifelong friendship between Griffith and Knotts, whose actual personalities contradicted with their Mayberry roles that they so expertly played. If you don't believe Griffith can act, watch him in A Face in the Crowd, Elia Kazan's 1957 film. Griffith alternates between subtle and bombastic, earnest and conniving. The film is just a reminder that politics, media, and demagoguery, I'm not saying that right. Demagoguery. Oh, got it. Are nothing new. None of that's new. Politics, media, and demagoguery are nothing new. For a less intense dose of Griffith, I recently listened to season 2 episode via a Netflix app while raking leaves and gathering fallen pecans. Nothing was like whistling the Andy Griffith Show theme while you're at work. So this story was by Kathleen McElroy. She's an assistant professor at Oklahoma State University School of Media and Strategic Communications. So I want to thank her, and I want to thank the Stillwater News Press for allowing me to butcher their stories. I tried to read it. It's a great story. We'll have links to it in the show notes so you can go and read it for yourself. And you might want to drop by the paper and thank them for letting us use it. That's very nice of her, and I really appreciate that. Now, I guess the real question I'm always asked, I'm asked a lot, and she kind of talked about it. It's a great show. She enjoyed it, and you can compartmentalize things because, there's always that thing, why were there no black people in Mayberry? And as we said back on episode 119, we kind of talked about it. There are some, and she's right. They were background characters, didn't show up a lot. And Andy always regretted that he didn't have more African Americans in the show because he would have preferred to have done it that way. But I also know a lot of African Americans, black ladies, black men, who actually do like the Andy Griffith Show. And it's nice to hear from her perspective. It's because Andy was, what was her wording exactly? That basically he was moral and looked out for the have-nots. Actually, she said it because Andy Taylor was morally satisfying because he insisted on justice and dignity for the have-nots. So I thought this was an interesting story. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'd love to hear them because I don't have any way to really voice a good opinion about this other than I love the Andy Griffith Show, and I don't really think it matters to me that they're white or that they were black. I just like it because it's good. It's fun. I've liked a lot of shows over time, and I don't really think about them being whether it's there's a lot of white people or black people or Spanish or whatever. I don't think about it a lot. It's just, is the show good or is it not? So anyway, I really do want to thank her for this. And this is kind of controversial, so I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions as well. So you can email me at floyd@imayberry.com, or you can also you can drop by twochairsnowaiting.com and leave a message there as well. All right. So now I do have a feedback that I wanted to play. This is from Abby. So I'm going to let Abby play. So Abby, thank you for calling in. So here we go. Let's see if we can hear her.
Yeah, just called in to say that I love your show, and I try to get every episode, and I just can't wait till next week when another one comes out.
So that was Abby. Thank you, Abby. I appreciate that. It's always fun to hear from you guys. Thank you for taking the time to send me a voicemail comment or a voice comment here for the show. I really do appreciate that. And I want to thank all you guys who are able to come and be a part of the show or subscribe to the show. I want to ask you, if you're on Facebook and you follow our facebook.com/2chairs, share the episodes with your friends. Maybe some of them would like them. If you see one you think they would like, share it with them. I'd love to just continue to get more people to even know about the podcast. As I said, the 119 episode number was 5 years ago. It was actually in January, and it's currently March. So it's 5 years and 2 months ago. Wow. And that was the 119th episode. So that means I'd already been going about 2 years. So, wow, it's been a while. So I think the run of this show has been longer than, or right at as long as the Andy Griffith Show already. So, folks, I hope you're still enjoying it. I am. It's fun to keep coming up with new things. Drop by over at Weaver's and check out the new little items, like the badge. They're pretty cool. They're like little kids' badges. You'd like them. They're only $10. The real badges, which I have some of those behind me back there, they're more like $60. So depends on whether you want a real badge or just one that's close enough. Close enough's probably good for most of us. All right, folks, we have one thing that we're going to go out on with here, and I hope you're going to enjoy it. This is from Tom Rusk, letting us know about an event that's coming up. We got about 2 minutes here, and then we'll close the show. So please give me a call at 888-684-8415 and let me know what you think about the show. And until then, let's head out. I'm going to head this over to Tom. So, Tom, take it away and take us out of here. We'll see you guys next week here on Two Chairs.
Hey, Two Chairs, No Waiting listeners. The city of Westminster, South Carolina will again transform into the city of Mayberry for the 6th annual Mayberry Comes to Westminster Festival, May 6th and 7th. The festival, after just 5 years, has been designated as one of the top 20 festivals in the Southeast for May 2016 by the Southeast Tourism Society. Prior to the opening ceremonies on May 6th, the Finding the Way Back to Mayberry Bible Study will again take place Thursday evening, May 5th, at Westminster Baptist Church at 7 p.m. Also that day, May the 5th, the 3rd annual Crime Stoppers Mayberry Open Golf Tourney will be held at the Oconee Country Club. The Mayberry lookalikes or tribute artists will be back to entertain folks during the weekend. Headlining is David Browning, the Mayberry Deputy, along with Floyd the Barber, Goober, Ernest T. Bass, Otis Campbell, Gomer, Briscoe Darling, and Alina, Colonel Harvey, and more. Many of these talented artists appear in the first 5 events. And joining the festivities again this year will be the daughter of the late great Don Knotts, Karen Knotts. She'll serve as parade marshal for the 2-day event and will present her show, Not Knotts, Who's There?, Getting to Know the Man Behind Barney Fife, twice during the weekend. Several other venues are planned, along with 2 Mayberry Day parades Saturday, a cruise-in, whistling and look-alike contest, a Salute to Elvis dinner show starring Wayne Euless Wednesday night, May 4th at Magnolia Manor. The award-winning bluegrass band Trinity River will perform on the downtown stage Saturday afternoon as well. Also arts and crafts displays, food venues, a silent auction, pancake breakfast, and more. For more information and tickets, go to mayberrywestminster.com or call the Westminster Chamber of Commerce 864-647-5316. Tom Rusk here in Mayberry Comes to Westminster, out at Checkpoint Chickie.